A very good evening to you. Welcome to another edition of Newsmaker Live right here on DBS Television. My name is Timothy Polio. We'll be together until 10 o'clock this evening. We conclude with the clip that peaked. Something happened on the local political landscape in St. Lucia on the 28th of last month. And that's when the opposition St. Lucia Labour Party held an election which was constitutionally due, that's as far as its constitution is concerned, and that is to elect its first and deputy political leaders. At the end of that contest, Mr. Sean Edward held on to the post of deputy political leader, but Dr. Ernest Hilaire defeated Mr. Alva Baptiste, who held the position of first deputy political leader. So my guest this evening is the individual who was recently elected first deputy political leader of the SLP, Dr. Ernest Hilaire. Good evening to you, sir.
Yeah, good evening to your team, and it's certainly a pleasure to be here once
Thank
again.
you so much for accepting my invitation to be on the broadcast. During the course of the program, we'll be hearing from Mr. Alva Baptiste. I interviewed him just a few days after that contest, and I played the interview on Newspin, but I'll be playing it again this evening on this broadcast. First of all, why seek to replace any of the two deputy political leaders 2 years before a general election is constitutionally due?
Well, first of all, the constitution of the Labour Party requires that there be elections every 3 years. And it is a constitutional requirement, and therefore we were paying obedience to the constitution of the St. Lucia Labour Party. You would recall that the last time there was an election for deputy leaders would have been just after the June 2016 elections. At that time, having just lost an election, there was a feeling among some, members of the party that we had just lost the election, and therefore we had to give a different direction to the party. That you had just lost, and you lost on a particular performance, a particular agenda, and that we needed to reorganize, reform, and to redirect the party. I was asked then by some of the comrades of the party to be part of that redirection, that reorganization, because we had to give a fresh look to the party. During the elections then, I did not succeed. I actually lost to Alva Baptiste. And of course, the party has spent the last 3 years in retrospection, reviewing, redirecting. And at this occasion, there is still a strong sentiment that the party has to give a new look to itself. The party has to broaden its embrace, broaden its agenda, broaden its program. And therefore, the party, in a sense, is positioning itself to win the next election. To win the next election, you really have to talk about putting together the right configuration of candidates, persons who can excite the electorate, people that can show some confidence to the electorate that they can do the job of, transforming St. Lucia. You have to write policies. The Labour Party cannot be stuck in the same policies that it had before. And therefore, you have to have policies that reflect the new direction you want to take the country. And of course, a leadership that can inspire people, that the party can actually deliver on those policies, and the party is heading in a direction that can inspire the electorate to come and to vote for it. So I see myself and my election really as the party taking a particular direction, the party positioning itself to ensure that it wins a new election with a leadership, with a combination of candidates, and with the policies that will excite the electorate.
So therefore, Mr. Alva Baptiste, he does not have those qualities?
Which qualities?
In terms of having the ability to position the party to win the next general election, in terms of formulating policy?
No. It's not so much the skill to do that. It's a question of the agenda that you will seek to promote. In any political party, just like in any group, like in any group, family setting, whatever, people will have difference of views. I see myself having a slightly different agenda. We are all rooted in the social democratic nature of the party. We both, Honorable Baptiste and myself, we grew up in the Labour Party, but we have different views on some issues. And we will disagree on those issues. And I certainly will present to the party my views as to where the Labour Party should go in the future. Alva Baptist has been a parliament rep since 2006. He has been a minister of government. I'm a newly elected parliamentarian. And in a sense, we have differences of views on different aspects. And therefore, it is up to me to sell my vision of where I think my party should be heading, and for him to do so, and for the party to decide in terms of where the party is going to go. Which is the one that the party wants to take. It's really strategic direction, and it's not a question of the skills and the abilities of individual. I know, Honorable Baptist, and he's a very talented individual. He has tremendous skills, but it is not just about the skills the individual have. It's about what you want to promote, what you want to push, and where you want to go. And I'm sure.
But what differentiates you from Mr. Alva Baptist?
Maybe in many ways, and I don't want to speak for him. I can speak for myself. I think the Labour Party has to broaden its embrace. The Labour Party was rooted in the workers' struggle for the rights to vote and the rights for civilized standards of living. The whole issue of making sure that the vulnerable and the marginalized and the disadvantaged are catered for first and foremost. And I believe, I'm one of those who believe that the Labour Party needs to continue to promote that agenda, but we need to broaden our agenda. I think there is a view in this country that the Labour Party is not fully supportive of business and investment and expanding the middle class. And I think when Dr. Anthony came in 1997, we saw an expansion of the middle class in St. Lucia. His support for policies and programs that broadened the Labour Party. And the Labour Party grew tremendously under Dr. Kenny Anthony. I think we've reached another stage in our history where we have to demonstrate to people that we are committed to social justice, but we also committed to the expansion of business opportunities and the support for business opportunities like never before. I think we have to show as a Labour Party that our agenda is broader, that we care about the marginalized and the disadvantaged, and that will always be our central focus, but equally, we want to build a larger middle class in St. Lucia. The Labour Party, more than any other party, the Labour Party has sent persons overseas to study, to become lawyers, doctors, engineers. Look at the amount of students we sent to Cuba to be doctors and engineers. And that was in our belief that we have to give persons more opportunities for them to become qualified and to develop themselves. I think we have to go even further than that now. We have to have an agenda that welcomes and broadens the involvement of persons in the Labour Party.
But you believe that in the past the Labour Party has basically not benefited or suffered because it has not been able to attract the middle class?
The middle class sufficiently and the business class sufficiently. And I think because we are so rooted in our notions of social justice and the fight for the marginalized and the vulnerable, which we should not abandon, because essentially that's why you're in politics, to make people's lives better. I think we have a discomfort in telling people that we'll promote the creation of wealth. You don't hear the Labour Party saying that often, that, but I think we should be saying that.
So that is something you'll basically be borrowing from the United Workers' Party.
Well, I don't know that
that has been the rhetoric of the United Workers' Party from time immemorial, from the time it was established.
Well, I think the United Workers' Party was created for that purpose. And of course, they've used persons in the working class and the marginalized for political purposes. We were created on the other side of the spectrum. We were rooted in the trade union movement, in the working class movement. People's fight for the right to vote, people's fight for the right to education. That's where we were created. The UWP was created on the other extreme. It was a businessman's organization, and in a sense, it became an avenue for business people to further their agenda. And look at the history of the party. The PPP and the LLM joined to form the United Workers' Party and the Central Labour Party. I think today's world, the world that we live in now, the global forces at play right now, says to us that for your country to move forward and to take that leap forward, you have to have an active program of also encouraging an expansion of the business class. I don't think the world that we live in now is sympathetic and sensitive to the pro-social justice causes. Not that you should abandon it. But, and let me give you a simple example why that's so. Before, there were exceedingly high amounts of aid available to countries, developing countries, to be able to achieve social justice and those notions of social equality. Those things are not available anymore. There were significant programs available from Cuba, from, different countries that can help you promote those programs. They're not available anymore. There were concessionary loans available to promote development projects. They're not available anymore. So whereas in the past, as a country, you can take some comfort in knowing that the international global configuration is very helpful and conducive to the promotion of that agenda, and you'll get significant amounts of grants and loans. That doesn't exist anymore. You need to find the money yourself. And the basis of finding the money is to promote investment and business development.
But what gives you the impression that the business class will ever be trusting of the St. Lucia Labour Party, when in the main they have been they have had this relationship, symbiotic relationship with the United Workers' Party? Isn't it easier for the United Workers' Party to continue to provide the various incentives and to promote the business community and the middle class, and then have some kind of trickling of the gains to the working class?
Yeah, I mean, I think in a very short way you described the strategy of the United Workers' Party over the years. But listen to this. And in this government, it has been reflected more than ever. The profits and the benefits of this country are now more than ever constrained and restricted to a few in this country. The Labour Party will not be, in my view, and certainly the Labour Party I want to be part of moving forward, it's not about keeping the cake the same size and just cutting it into more slices. We have to make the cake bigger. We must grow the business class. Business in St. Lucia must not be seen as the purview or the space of a very few people. We must not. We must shatter that notion.
Has this been something that's different, whether the United Workers' Party or the SLP is in office?
No, I'm saying we need to have an active program in the Labour Party for small business development and support for business expansion in the country. We must virtually expand the business class in the country. Not that we're taking away from those who have. In fact, we have to continue to support them for them to expand. But it cannot remain in the hands of a select few. It cannot. We need to expand it. And for young people who want to be, businessmen, young people who want to be involved in investment, young people that want to be involved in creation of businesses, to open small hotels, small factories. They have to believe that there's a government in place that will support them and will be for them. And I think that the Labour Party has to broaden its agenda to say we are going to give active support to expand the business class in St. Lucia, create more entrepreneurs, and not to feel that there's only a few that will benefit from all those things.
You do not believe that Mr. Baptiste has the capacity to promote that kind of thinking? Or you providing that kind of assistance to ensure that people like Mr. Alva Baptiste and the St. Lucia Labour Party in general and the political leader promote such ideas?
But you see, you're saying about capacity. You continue to make it look like there is a diminution of the capacity of the individual. And speaking about the promotion of an agenda. I'm speaking about the Labour Party having an agenda that is broader than what it has been before in the past. It's about me saying to the party, this is what I am promoting, this is what I think St. Lucia wants, and I will be a champion of it. And for the party to say...
Okay, I'm just asking, why can't you be a champion of it without removing Mr. Alva Baptiste from the post of first deputy political leader?
But it's not a question of removing him because of that. It's a question of you selling to the party, this is the agenda, this is what you think is needed, and for the party to say, yes, we have confidence in that, and we would want you to be in the forefront of pushing it. Again, you keep trying to make it look like it's a contest between individuals and their capacity and whatnot.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm saying that in a group, if there's one particular individual who has an idea which is something that is significant, something that can move the group, move the organization forward, why not go with it instead of having to promote this person to a leadership position?
Yeah. No, but it's very obvious, Tim. You ever been in a youth group?
Yeah,
a
very long time ago.
Yeah, you're in a youth group, yeah? And then you have a contest for president, for vice president, whatnot. And you stand up before the youth group and you say, this is what I want to do, this is what I'm going to do. Another person stands up and says, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm about. And the members vote. And the members choose the person whose vision, whose articulation of a way forward is more in keeping with where they believe the youth group should go.
Youth group as well is a really disorganized kind of ad hoc group in 4 shows, you know. So
no, that's what it was. Yeah, that's what it is. You're right. You're right. But the point remains that, and not just political parties. I mean, not just youth groups. It extends across in social organizations. People represent something, and you appeal to the membership to support you that this is where I think we should go, and you have contests. But again, you know, there seems to be a preoccupation with, you know, the election of deputy leaders, whatnot, and for me, it is overplayed. It is overplayed, and I guess many of the persons are trying to place a focus on it, trying to distract from the sad state of affairs in this country.
No, but if it were, let's say, the United Workers' Party has gone through this particular exercise, I think we'll be asking the same question.
No, you did not.
I'm just saying, we'll be
my brother. No,
if it happened now,
no.
We're saying that there's some kind of uprising against the leadership of the United Workers' Party. I'm just saying, if it happened now,
Timothy, let's have an honest conversation, yeah.
But that's what we have.
No, let's have let's have an honest conversation. Timothy, remember Honorable Sarah Flood went up against Alan Chasney? Remember Claudia Sprayville went up against Alan Chasney? Yeah. Remember Stevenson King and Chasney had a contest? Did you hear anything about instability? Even now,
the dissenting voices even came from the United Workers' Party.
Yes.
And dissenting voices.
Even now, you'd hear Honorable Stevenson King, and you'll hear very sage comments from him, you know, about what's happening in the country. On the Pajua letter, for example, on the Ubaldas matter. And he, as a former prime minister, former leader, is saying, look, this is not how you should handle these matters. Do you hear anybody say, oh, there is dissension in UWP camp, there is division, Harry Stevenson King saying that? You never said that. I never heard you say that. You don't. You gloss over it. Remember what happened with the Ubaldas and the Pajua letter and Stevenson King's response to it? Mm-hmm. Did you say anything about dissension in the camp?
Do I know of the existence of any Pajua letter? Did I see it? Can I authenticate who signed the letter? Compared to the Senucia
Pajua letter?
I'm just saying to you, compared to the Senucia Labour Party issuing a press release and saying this is the process, and we have elected 2 deputies, replacing Mr. Alva Baptiste. And Mr. Alva Baptiste going on to say, for example, a quote there, given my assessment of the current political environment, in my soundness of judgment, I did not embrace the view that a contest would better serve our interests at this time, as it would require heavy political shelling, which for me would be divisive. And then just a little later, we'll be hearing from Mr. Alva Baptiste.
But again, Tim, that's his opinion. Hear that. The National Council met and voted, and they chose to change. If one individual says, look, I didn't think they should have an election, he's fully entitled to have that view, and he's fully entitled to say he doesn't think there should be a change. But the organization felt differently, and that's what's most important. And he's fully entitled to have that view. He's fully entitled to have that view. The Labour Party is a democratic organization, and I think under the leadership of Kenny Anthony, we've matured quite a lot. The party has taken stock of where it wants to go, what it wants to achieve, the agenda it wants to promote, and it has made that decision as to the best configuration to achieve that. And I think it is, you know, highly respectable that the party was able to do it in a manner in which he did it. So, I mean, he expresses his view, and, you know, you respect his view, but the organization did not carry that view.
But I'm always critical of national executives and national councils, because if they own a political leader, that seems to be something that is well organized, well orchestrated, and then you come up with the outcome that the national executive or the council wants.
Well, they are empowered to make that decision.
Maybe somebody can sell the idea that this is the individual who should have as the first deputy political leader or the second deputy political leader or the political leader, and there'll be some kind of exchange of ideas, and then they'll try to convince them one way or the other, and then they go ahead.
That's what democracy is about, my brother. I mean, democracy, you're making democracy sound like conspiracy. Democracy is about people campaigning, lobbying, and asking for support, and when they get the support, they win. That's what democracy is about.
But that's what politics is about. But there's a lot of conspiracy in politics, a lot of backstabbing as well.
Well, that's the nature of politics. I mean, but it happens in mothers and fathers group, it happens in social clubs, it happens in different organizations, trade unions. That's what happens. You advocate an agenda, you seek support for the agenda, and then you contest the election. In fact, you should be respecting and applauding the fact that there is democracy alive in the organization. And I'll tell you something, we cannot talk about the democratization of life in St. Lucia, democratization of our institutions if we don't practice it, first of all. We cannot do that. We cannot say that the people should be involved in decision making, that we should respect the Constitution, we should respect convention, and then we deny it ourselves. We should not.
Do you expect any fallout from this particular exercise?
I don't see why. I mean, we're part of a democratic organization. It has made a decision and we need to follow out. And I think, there are people, of course, political mischief is that you'll try to create the scenario that this and that. I hear talk, for example, and it is so, amusing sometimes. Sometimes I sit back and I listen to it. Dr. Anthony resigned after we lost the election. Oh, Dr. Anthony abandoned the party. He should never resign. Okay, he resigned. Philip Pierre becomes leader. Dr. Anthony steps back, gives him space to emerge as a leader in his own image, in his own right. Dr. Anthony does not support what Philip Pierre is doing. And then Dr. Anthony still stays in the background, allows the leader to really take charge of the party. Oh, he's planning in the background to come back. This is just a continuation.
The people have had their own experiences, for example, with Sir John Compton, when he kind of gave up the position.
I guess to some extent.
And Dr. Volnowitz became the leader, and he returned to take what he deemed to be his own political
I guess if you say that's the motivation, I can understand that. But there's a lot of political mischief in those things, yeah? I hear talk about Philip Pierre and myself. Let me tell you something. Let me share something with you. The person who's guided me the most and advised me the most in my parliamentary career from June 2016 has been Philip J. Pierre. Advised me in terms of my presentation in the House, how I should deal with issues. The person that has helped me the most is Philip J. Pierre.
So then the teacher turns against the teacher. It happens.
Come on, the teacher don't turn against the teacher. No, seriously, and I'm grateful to that. I'm grateful for that because I am the freshman on the Labour Party side. And he has always been on. After a presentation, tell me, comrade, you probably did this way. It is good you did this way. Or, make sure you read your standing orders. And he's been in Parliament for almost 30 years. Philip J. Pierre is the longest serving parliamentarian. And nobody else than him has guided me and advised me. And yet I hear people say
you expect to do a George Mallet.
What's a George Mallet?
That is, if Mr. Philip Pierre decides to be political leader for an extended period, you'll just remain as deputy, a loyal deputy, and never challenge him.
Yeah, I there are certain things I stand for, I believe in, and I will promote it in the party as best as I can. I think our party should be modernized. I think our party should be a lot more pragmatic. I think our party should widen its embrace, bring in more people into the party. I have a heavy emphasis and belief in our young people. I think we should bring in more young people, more women in the party. I think we should become a modern progressive party that will transform St. Lucia. And it should be reflected in the makeup of the Labour Party in terms of policy, candidates, and leadership. I think we should attract business people, more women, more youth. We should be dynamic. We should not be a party of a few, like the United Workers' Party is now, really favoring a few friends and family. I think we must be the counter to that. I think we must be a party that is rooted in good governance, accountability, transparency. I think we should reflect that in our makeup. And that's the agenda I'll be pushing in the Labour Party. And I hope Philip Pierre, and he's, and let me tell you something, and maybe we can have some time to talk about Philip J. Pierre. Let me explain to you my own assessment of Philip J. Pierre as a leader and the future Prime Minister of St. Lucia, because I think the Labour Party and the Philip J. Pierre will enter a new phase of expansion, and certainly like we did under Kenny Anthony in 1997. And I want to see that in the Labour Party. I want to see a modern, progressive Labour Party, young people, bright, vibrant, that can take this country forward. And I hope Philip J. Pierre will be with us for a very long time as political leader, and that he will use his skills. And people criticize he's not charismatic, he's not inspirational. But in terms of his skills to manage and bring people together and keep it stable, he's been able to do that tremendously in my view. And I hope he really delivers on the signs that he's showing in bringing young people, bringing women, and modernizing the party, and that it shows at the next election, and we win the election, and then we go into government and start transforming St. Lucia. And that for me is my dream. And more importantly for me, Tim, and I grew up by the bridge. As a little boy, there's so much I wanted to see happen in my community. My mother is from Bassa Joseph. There's so much I want to see happen in those areas. And I want a chance in government to transform Castro South, first and foremost.
The individual you replaced as first deputy political leader, Mr. Alva Baptiste, we'll hear from him right now. An interview I conducted with Mr. Alva Baptiste sometime last week. It was aired on Newspin.
First of all, congratulate the new leadership structure of the St. Lucia Labour Party as we prepare for the upcoming general elections. But I want to quickly add that there was nothing out of the ordinary about Saturday's events. It is no secret for some time now that Mr. Ernest Hilaire has openly displayed interest in top leadership positions in the St. Lucia Labour Party, which is his right and prerogative. In 2016, he contested against me and lost. And I knew he was preparing himself to challenge me again for the position of First Deputy in 2019. And it is Mr. Hilaire's right, or the right of any other individual in the party to do so, which is fully in keeping with the provisions of the Constitution of the St. Lucia Labour Party. However, certain periods of contest may require other considerations beyond the rights of the individual and what is fully supported by the Constitution. And I have made it abundantly clear that given my assessment of the current political environment, in my soundness of judgment, I did not embrace the view that a contest would best serve our interests at this time, as it would require heavy political shelling, which for me would be divisive. In such a scenario, given the fact that I have control over my actions, I decided not to campaign to avoid needless confrontation and political turbulence. The consequence of this posture was abundantly clear to me. Sacrificing the position of first deputy leader of the Labour Party in the interest of party unity. And I must add, in the words of a great American orator, a life is never wisely given to save a limb. A limb can be amputated to save a life. And Saturday's results were in consonance with the possibility that I conceived a long time ago. However, I make it abundantly clear at this juncture, team, that leadership is not a position, but one's ability to excite, mobilize, organize people towards securing some specific goals that would uplift them and society. Hence, I do not need to be first deputy political leader of the SLP to inspire people on both sides of the political divide who look up to me for honest purpose. I enjoy the love, admiration, and respect of the base of the St. Lucia Labour Party. And of course, it is for the political leadership that I have been providing for decades, which shall not be interrupted by someone else occupying the position of first deputy political leader of the SLP. My name is not written on any position in the SLP. My navel string is not buried in any position in the party. Besides, I did not enter politics to gather triumphs of personal distinction. No, it cannot be about the preservation of personal political power, team, because we can only lead our party back to victory if principle and unity are valued above selfish ambitions. So I will continue to serve my party with renewed vigor and cooperate as far as practicable with all the organs of our party under our respective mandates to deliver bread, justice, and freedom to the people of St. Lucia. So I add in closing, team, that as we struggle for the benefit of humanity and for sustainable human development, I again wish the new leadership structure the very best in returning this country to normalcy.
How do you think, sir, that this development will affect the St. Lucia Labour Party in terms of fostering unity?
Well, you see, team, periods of turbulence or conflict are inherent in any organization where people are the key actors in the drama of development or the key actors in the drama of transformation. So, from time to time, certain things will have to change, and change sometimes, has its own fair share of trouble. But I cannot predict accurately what that will bring about as a consequence. But one thing I can say to you is that the National Council took a decision, which is the right of National Council to take, and so I do not see any reason why there should be any turbulence or fallout. But I do not have a crystal ball. So
do you have any ambitions to contest the leadership of the St. Lucia Labour Party anytime in the future, if given another opportunity to serve as deputy political leader or even political leader?
You see, Tim, I want to repeat what I said. Positions are positions. Leadership remains. I have been one of the leaders of this party. I was the founding president of the St. Lucia Labour Party youth organization. I did all the consultation, wrote the constitution, and worked very hard to ensure that we launched that organization, which was a vibrant organization back then. I have served at the constituency level as chairman, as youth officer, as campaign manager, and I have served in all of those capacities without necessarily becoming any deputy political leader or leader of the St. Lucia Labour Party. I believe that in future, whoever must lead the party shall lead the party. Sometimes the person who will lead the party is not even involved in the present construct. You understand? But for now, Philip Joseph Pierre is the leader of the St. Lucia Labour Party, and I do not see in the next convention any challenge to his leadership.
So you envisage that Mr. Philip J. Pierre will go into the next general election constitutionally during 2021 as the leader?
Well, I mean, traditionally we have selected leaders, and that's what it has been. The constitution of the Labour Party say that you choose the leader at the first conference after general election. And so, you know, that time has not arrived. He is the leader, and he has been leading the party from the time Dr. Anthony resigned.
And you fully support Dr. Ernest Hilaire as the first deputy political leader?
Well, it's not about fully supporting. You must fully support the decisions of the party. People must submit to party discipline, no matter how one may feel about individuals or circumstances. And, you know, I mean, people must not involve themselves in those kind of pettiness. I think it would be petty of me or anybody else to start to hate or to dislike or not to give support. I believe we need to give full support to the organs of the party so that we can emerge victorious in the next general elections and re-establish normalcy in this country.
But what I was asking is that, apart from supporting the process, do you support the individual who has emerged as the first deputy political leader?
Well, Tim, I don't think that is the practice of the party. The practice of the party is to respect the outcome of democratic processes, not to really go and be obsequious or sycophants. We do support each other's role on the basis of principles. So I don't think it's a personal support type of thing. That is not how we operate in the St. Lucia Labour Party. So to probably bring some degree of closure to the question you're asking me is to say I have absolutely no difficulty whatsoever with Mr. Hilaire serving as first deputy political leader of the St. Lucia Labour Party.
Thank you so much for speaking with me, sir.
You're most welcome, Tim.
Okay, brother. Take care.
And you have a good day.
Okay, you too.
But rest assured, Alva Baptiste is Alva Baptiste and will always be one of the leaders of the St. Lucia Labour Party. Bread, justice, and freedom must prevail.
An interview I conducted last week with Mr. Alva Baptiste, former first deputy political leader of the SLP, MP for Labrie. We are on Facebook, by the way, so please log on. We have a steaming conversation taking place there. Somebody says, Tim, please get over Hilaire and Alva. You heard the comments made by Mr. Alva Baptiste. What say you, sir?
No, let me tell you, I've listened to the tape. You've played it before, and I heard it again tonight. And I must say I'm appreciative of the comments made by Honorable Alva Baptiste. He was very clear in his statements that, you know, he supports the party decision. He will be cooperating. He respects the decision that was made. He will continue to be the leader of the Labour Party. And in there, he said all the things that lay to rest any notion that you or anyone or anybody out there may have that he is acting up or he is in disagreement. if you play this over and over and you do a content analysis of it, he said so. Look, I'm a leader in the Labour Party. I don't have to be first deputy to be a leader. I will continue to inspire people. He said he respects the decision. He'll continue to cooperate as far as practicable. I am encouraged by the words that he said, and I'm certainly looking forward to, the Labour Party getting even stronger and the Labour Party even, being more resolute in its attempt to replace the United Workers' Party. And, like I said, I've listened to this and you've just played it again. And, the comrade is as eloquent as one can be, and we know him to be. And, he's given me assurances, certainly by listening to this, that we will be having a formidable team to remove United Workers' Party from government.
The only fair thing I can say is time will tell.
Well, anything time will tell. This is a universal truth. Yeah.
We'll continue the discussion in just a moment. You are watching Newsmaker Live right here on DBS Television. My guest is Dr. Ernest Hilaire, First Deputy Political Leader of the SLP. Back in a moment. Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching Newsmaker Live on DBS Television. We are also on Facebook. The discussion is taking place there. Somebody says, Tim is trying to put confusion in the party. Little body saying Tim is looking everything to find disunity in the St. Lucia Labour Party. Ernest, they are not contented with the content of Alva's statement. Tim, Ernest is an intellect. These minefields are null and void with my deputy leader. All right. Some of the discussions taking place. So a very good evening to you on Facebook and those of you watching on television. The St. Lucia Labour Party has been very critical of the government's stewardship when it comes to a number of areas, in particular health care. But this has been an area of immense concern for the people of St. Lucia over several decades now, whether it's an SLP government or a United Workers' Party administration. I mean, how does the St. Lucia Labour Party, a government of the SLP, plan to deal with such a Herculean task, a difficult problem?
Well, I noted you said that St. Lucia has been facing the same issue. And it's not entirely true. I mean, we've had health challenges in the past. And you'd recall, and I'm sure you do, this is
even when you were working overseas, I was here monitoring.
Right, exactly.
So I know all those things.
I'm going back to the days when we were young boys from Manaslan School, walk for Victoria, whatnot. So we've had health challenges before. We've had challenges in the health sector before. Let's not deny that. What we have now is the health crisis. I think it's gone up a few notches or gone down a few notches. We have a crisis in our health sector now, not just challenges confronting us as a nation. And when the Labour Party left office in June 2016, there was actually a commissioning plan. We had gone through all the pains of constructing the hospital. And if you remember, when Dr. Anthony and the Labour Party then started the construction of the hospital, we left office and the United Workers came back in 2006. The OKEU was downsized. It was not finished under the United Workers Party. The Labour Party came in. The hospital was finished, and then you had the challenges of operationalizing it. At the end of the term, there was a commissioning plan. There was somebody, Dr. Stephen King, employed to lead the transitioning and the commissioning of the hospital. The United Workers Party came into power in June 2016. Cast aside the commissioning plan, dismissed Dr. Stephen King, and it was announced that they were going to do it differently, and they had different plans, and healthcare would be dealt with. It had been promised during the campaign, and it had been promised just after they took office. 3.5 years later, we are in a worse situation than we've ever been. And now, what are they doing? Going back to the same commissioning plan, with some of the same persons, to try to get the OKEU operational. And one has to ask the question, why did St. Lucians have to go through what they went through for the last 3.5 years? Why did you find a commissioning plan that took years of work, research, planning, and to open the hospital and operationalize it? The Labour Party did not have time to do it. The time was up and they lost the election. And part of the reason why they probably lost, because you lose elections for a combination of reasons, was probably the fact that they were not expeditious enough to operationalize the hospital. 3.5 years later. And you've seen the photos coming out of VH now, Victoria Hospital. Patients on the floor.
That's the first time?
It's the first time I've seen it.
No.
Can I ask you, have you ever seen it before?
I'm just saying to you,
it's the first time.
I'm saying to you.
Yes, and I'm answering you.
It's the first time you've heard it mainly because of social media.
Tim, I have social media. Tim, can I tell you something? I know people who work at VH. I can tell you, the A&E department was reconstructed, reorganized in 1990 under Honorable Sarah Flood, which was Minister of Health. I can tell you the work that was done at Victoria Hospital to get the emergency department reorganized, redesigned, modernized. I can tell you, and I know people who work at the hospital, I have friends who are doctors, and I have associations with persons who've been at VH. I have never seen a photograph. I have never heard of patients having to lie on the floor on cardboard, and I've never seen it.
But I'm saying to you,
if you know of stories like that before,
I'm saying to you, that's happened before.
It has,
but it is manifesting itself. A lot of things are manifesting themselves.
Can I ask you?
No, I'm just asking. I'm just saying to you. A lot of things are manifesting themselves now, and you would agree readily because of social media.
Okay, right. So let's stop.
Do you also agree that healthcare has been a bugbear for all our health ministers over several decades? And you made reference to Mr. Romanus Lansigo. And even subsequent to that, all health ministers have gone through those same travails and challenges in dealing with that problem.
And I will say to you, like I did when I started, we've had challenges in the health sector before. We've never had the crisis that we have now. And you may disagree with me, but
I'm saying to you that's debatable.
Tim, it will take a lot for a St. Lucian to actually believe that we've had this crisis we face in the healthcare sector now before in our history.
I'm just saying,
not even the most rabid United Workers Party
supporter. I'm saying to you,
will say that. But if you choose to say that, let's move on.
I'm just saying to you, it's debatable. But let's go back.
If you find it debatable, let's. If you say, Tim, if you are saying to me that the crisis that's in the healthcare sector now is debatable whether that has not existed before, I'll tell you, just stay in that reality. What solutions are going through? Tim, I went to the A&E department. A young man from Fuasho, you know him very well, was down in casualty. Days he had been there waiting for an ultrasound. waiting for an ultrasound, days.
And you're saying, Dr. Hille, that this has not happened before?
Timothy, I'm telling you, I've never known a young man sitting in casualty for days waiting for an ultrasound. I met an old lady, 80-odd years old from Cicero, sitting in a wheelchair. She's been there from morning for blood test results, morning. I went there about 5 o'clock. After 9 in the night, the family called me to tell me they told her she had to remain in the wheelchair until the following morning. They decided to take their mother home because a lady at that age been there since morning. I've never heard of that before. Well, and if you say to me, it has
the
been
fact that
happening
you're
in the
saying
past,
that you have not heard it before, well, it's news to you. I'm just saying to you.
I can also tell you a young man from a young man from the constituency I know who died. And the circumstance under which he died, I'd never heard that before in our health sector.
That is strange coming from you, Dr. Hille. So that means now you have not been in tune with what has been happening in the health sector over several years now.
But can I tell you something? I have been in tune.
There have been people, for example, in
but you didn't ask me the circumstances under which he died.
No,
you didn't ask me that.
The circumstances?
Hold on, you didn't ask me.
You'll have to show me the postmortem results.
Okay, well, let's move on. Tim, let's move on. Okay, Tim. Okay, this is a bit frivolous now. Let's move on.
I'm just saying, if you have a postmortem,
let me explain. Well, let's go back.
I'm just saying to you, for example, several decades ago in Soufrière, a lady died because she could not get certain services. She was in labor. Midwife was not available. This happened in Soufrière. This has happened at VH on many occasions. There have been instances where, for example, I remember a little over a decade ago, people came to Hospital Road, Fourashua, from the Victoria Hospital to buy onions and garlic for the kitchen at the Victoria Hospital. So I'm just saying to you, those are problems that we have been experiencing for a very long time. I don't know if we're in a crisis situation. If you say crisis, I will not debate. I will not challenge you in it, but I'm saying that's very debatable because we have had those problems across the board in our health sector.
Can I tell you something?
As Sarah Flood, as Damian Greaves, as Mr.
Stevenson King.
Mr. King, they all will concur with you.
But can I tell you, Tim, you remind me of the Prime Minister, Mary Isaac. When Mary Isaac was told that, you know what, she said exactly what you said. It always used to happen before, nothing new about that. And you know what the Prime Minister said when they told him about the photo? Is it right or is it wrong? He doesn't know. It can never be right, Tim.
But
it can never be right.
But I'm saying to you,
it can never be right.
I'm saying to you, as one has gone VH visits, etc., that it is not something that is unprecedented.
Tim,
it is not unprecedented.
I'm telling you, and we can move on.
I was at hospital a few years ago. I was at hospital as a kid at the age of about 8 or 9 years old.
I could tell you that if you say to me, can I say to me, we can agree to disagree. If you say to me the conditions in the healthcare sector now is what it has always been in the past, let's move on.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's debatable, sir. There's a difference.
But if it is debatable, I'm saying it's something that we can debate. Can I say something, Tim? Words have meanings, yeah? And if you say to me it's debatable, you're saying to me, I have reason to believe it has always been like that, so I can contest what you said. But let's move on, Tim. We have a healthcare crisis that ought not to have been, because there was a commissioning plan, there was staffing in place to have the transition open OKEO. It was put aside. We were told healthcare city would come in, they would privatize. We were told there would be health insurance. Every St. Lucian would have $100,000 that they can spend each year on health insurance. We were told all those things, and we were told it would have started last year. Then we were told earlier this year. It still has not started. Then we were told there would be a white paper delivered in September last year.
The issue with, for example, universal healthcare, when the St. Lucia Labour Party left office in 2006, Dr. Stevenson King spearheaded that whole initiative, right, to try and facilitate the process of UHC.
But actually, he pulled it.
But I think Dr. King was part of that particular process.
Dr. King, that's Stevenson King.
Dr. King. Dr. King was part of that process. So the United Workers' Party stayed in office until 2011. And the St. Lucia Labour Party returned in 2011 and left in 2016. What happened during that period? You could blame both governments for us not having UHC, but should the SLP also take some responsibility for this when you say that we still do not have any universal healthcare program right now?
Well, I didn't say that. What I said to you is the United Workers' Party had criticized the Labour Party for not doing exactly what you said, having everything in place. They said they would,
in particular, UHC.
Well, the whole healthcare sector, modernization, whatnot. And they promised they would do it immediately. And they were monthly.
What is immediately?
Well, they gave dates, huh?
Okay.
They gave
But anyway,
dates,
I'm just kidding on that one because Dr. Lewis on my program, you're disputing what is immediately.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And the point is, we went for 3.5 years of pain and suffering in this country we ought not to have. And I think since then, the health sector has deteriorated beyond belief, and we're now in a crisis. You may debate whether that's the case or not, but the people I see, in my constituency, and the people I come across, and my own knowledge, I can tell you that we're facing a healthcare crisis in this country. Now, I've even spoken about St. Jude and the Judd Odlum Stadium yet, because that's another crisis. And if you want to debate whether there is a crisis at the Judd Odlum National Stadium, Tim, we can do so. The point is, St. Lucians are facing a crisis in the health sector like never before, whether you want to debate it or not. The medical ship that came and the response to it was just an indicator of how bad things are in this country, just how bad they are as it relates our health services.
Yeah, but you see, Dr. Hilaire, a crisis does not happen overnight. There's certain crises, they take a particular course of action.
Yeah.
All right? So do not give the impression that it's between 2016 and now that we've had this problem.
Let me go over it again. No, listen to what I am saying. No, okay. I hear you, and you're not necessarily wrong. What I'm saying to you, in 2016, there was a commissioning plan, and there was a very competent person responsible for the final phase, which is the operationalization of the OKEU. The plan was there. All the research, all the work had been done, the costing, everything, and so on. Mm-hmm. That was cast aside, and we were told it would be done differently and right away. 3.5 years later, it has not happened, and the healthcare sector has gone into total crisis.
What prevented the Senatorial Labour Party from implementing that particular plan? The election?
Well, the first thing the Labour Party had to do when they came in 2011 was to complete the hospital. It still had not been completed yet, which they had to do. And that's against a situation where there was a severe economic issues that had to be dealt with, restricting the amount of money is available to do so. So it had to be completed. And having been completed, they then faced the challenges of how do we finance the operation of this hospital? And concerted effort had to be made to put in place a plan and a phased approach to dealing with the operationalization of the OKEU. And that's the reality. When EWP came in, they were at the point where, in a matter of months, the operationalization could have taken place or substantially take place. It was stopped, and that's the difficulty.
Are you saying that the finances were available to operate the OKEU hospital?
No, the implementation plan had been put in place to have that dealt with. You understand? Listen to me. What I want you to focus on.
No. Having a plan without the finances really and truly.
No, but part of the plan might be an increase in having a health tax. It might have been X. It might have been Y.
No, don't tell me might. Give me the specifics.
No, but if I have the plan in front of me, I would give you all the details, Tim. The point I'm making is that it contained the elements for the operationalization. You're not focusing on what I'm trying to say to you. It is the casting away of the commissioning of the hospital and the plan and the staffing to do so that has caused the crisis. Because if it had been done, there would be no crisis.
We don't know that.
I mean, you don't know that.
So therefore, Doc,
you understand what I'm trying to tell you?
Why didn't the SLP stick around to implement that plan?
We didn't stick around. The people voted us out.
No. You're in a hurry to call general election. The SLP was in a hurry to call general election.
Come on, Tim. Seriously, why did we stick around?
Yeah,
Tim. But can I just remind you?
No. In its wisdom, the Senatorial Labour Party thought it necessary, thought that was the main priority at the time to call the general election. So it was not really constitutionally due.
What you're saying to me?
Was it constitutionally due?
Of course it was constitutionally due.
It wasn't constitutionally due.
What do you mean by constitutionally due?
The Senatorial Labour Party had several months before the actual date.
You could call the election any time before a certain period.
Yes.
Right.
But if it is not due and you have a particular agenda, a particular plan, healthcare, we need to open this hospital before the general election. But you go ahead and you do it.
But
you give priority to it.
Well, I probably put that. Government is supposed to be contiguous. It's supposed to be, continuing. Nobody ever believed what happened in the healthcare sector would have happened. There was a plan discussed with the EU, in consonance with the EU, what they wanted to do, all the advice they gave, all the technical support with the Matnik. And right now we're going back to the same Matnik connection to get the hospital operationalized. All of that was part of the plan. The point I'm making to you, and I want you to reflect on, is the casting away, the putting aside of the commissioning plan and the staff that was in place to make it happen that has caused the crisis. And it is rooted in an arrogance that whatever the Labour Party doing was wrong, and we can do it better, and we know how to do it better. And the first approach to that was, let's privatize healthcare. Let's privatize healthcare. The St. Lucian public had serious objection to that, and that was felt. What was, and Tim, I can give you the chronology of statements that were made from June 2016 by the government.
You forgot to what?
Healthcare. The chronology, the press conferences, the statements by Nicole MacDonald, by Nancy Charles, by Guy Joseph. But okay, I think we've made a point on healthcare.
We could go in circles on this particular issue as to when people make promises and when people say they will open this health institution and it does not happen, and they promise and promise and promise and it does not happen.
I think you get the point.
And what governments have generally done in St. Lucia is to always blame their inability to deliver on a particular promise, primarily on the election being called and they were put out of office.
Well, you were put out of office, but so I think you get the point in the healthcare. You may say it's debatable, but St. Lucians are facing a crisis in healthcare. Crisis, and I would have time tonight to go into St. Jude Hospital, because that one is another disaster in terms of how the government has handled it. Let's move on to investment.
But I'm saying to you, before you move on, why do you think politicians, political parties, don't want to take any kind of responsibility then for anything that goes wrong, that goes bad?
No, you should.
For example,
Tim, you should.
St. Jude Hospital.
Tim.
Shouldn't the St. Lucia party take any kind of blame, any kind of responsibility, engage in some kind of introspection and say, if we had taken care of this, the United Workers' Party, those people who cannot deliver, those people who are incompetent, will not be facing that same problem.
Okay, so you want to talk St. Jude? You want us to talk about St. Jude?
No, I don't want to go into it in depth, and I'm just saying, can
I tell
why
something?
political parties, politicians can take responsibility for those things?
Tim, if you say to me, the Labour Party, probably should have placed greater priority on making sure St. Jude is completed at all costs. If Kenny Anthony had to take a loan for $50 million, $75 million, just get it done and finish with, then I respect that view. And I'm sure there are a lot of people, that will support you on that. I think Dr. Anthony took a more prudent approach to it, trying as money, because Dr. Anthony has, and the records will show, that there was a rethinking of the physical, the footprint of the hospital, and therefore the cost increase. There was no monies left to do so. So as monies are earned, work has been done, a loan is gotten from the Taiwanese to accelerate the work, whatnot. It was not finished on time. One can argue, and I'm prepared to accept that maybe whatever it took to finish it should have been done and finished with it. And one have to accept that. The point though, is that this government came in and stopped work. Under the Labour Party, with all the financial challenges, the work never stopped. It might have been crawling, it never stopped. This government stopped all work on St. Jude. First, they said they're going to do a technical audit, which they did. It has never been made public. Then they said they're going to do a financial audit. It has never been made public. So you've done two audits. You made all kinds of claims about mismanagement and all different claims. You've never made it public. Again, no work has continued. And then we find out that there's already an agreement to use St. Jude to be a medical hospital, a medical school. So the people of the South were looking forward to have an ultra-modern hospital with sufficient space and offering of services to be comparable to a modern hospital, and now told, this is too big for y'all. We're going to have a medical school there instead. And they use all kinds of arguments about doors too small, about ramps not in place, to justify a decision that they had already made to convert the facility to a medical school. And then the Minister of Health announces, we're actually going to build a new hospital down by the brewery. Remember that? So much is their decision and commitment to foreign interests that they're going to use that facility as a medical school. She announced they're going to build a new hospital by the brewery. And then all of a sudden we heard, we're not doing that anymore. We're now going to build a new wing. And then all of a sudden, St. Jude now is going to be a polyclinic. A polyclinic and no longer a hospital, like the people dreamt of, like they believe, and rightfully so, that they deserve to have in the South. 3.5 years later, work is now starting on site preparation works. The work is now starting on site preparation works. And the point is, St. Jude is another example of the gross mismanagement of this government. The gross mismanagement of this government. So, Tim, if you want to go into more details, we can go into more details.
Okay. There's been too much vacillation on the part of both governments on healthcare on this particular St. Jude matter. But how will a St. Lucia Labour Party administration change things drastically to the extent that we do not have a repetition where we continue to discuss the same issues relating to healthcare, relating to education, relating to the poor state of the economy, relating to crime, relating to unemployment?
Well, you asked me for a whole 15-year development plan. Yeah? But Tim, let's go back and take it to basics. This government was elected on the promise that the Labour Party had failed. And they had the fight to stay alive, and all the promises that told me that they were going to make things better. Political parties do that. They explain to you they'll do things better, and they sometimes give you their plans as to how they will make things better. It will all be in the execution and how you get it done. And in the first sitting of Parliament after election, you would have heard the government talking about execution. And I remember shouting out to them, and some of my colleagues did, that sooner or later, y'all will see who really will get into the execution mode, because they've never had a government in this country that has mismanaged the public sector like this government. No other government that I can think of, whether it's healthcare, whether it's education, whether it's investment, whether it's sports. They've never had another government that has mismanaged the public sector and national development like this government. And for the Labour Party, it's about putting St. Lucia back on course. It has to be about going back to the fundamentals and the basics of just having the public sector working properly. Let me give you a simple example. A simple light on a playing field that costs $4,000 to repair. More than 3 weeks, it cannot be done. But we are paying consultants millions of dollars in sports. To do what? When young people cannot even get the lights on their playing field repaired for $4,000. Millions of dollars.
I remember at one time people were saying that the previous St. Lucia Labour Party administration was definitely pro-consultants. I mean, you've heard that before. What about you and your politics should cause people to think that you are different, should repose their trust in you? Because the same issues that you have brought to the fore there, the accusations have been leveled against this government and the previous administration. Take, for example, the consultant part that you made reference to. What about you?
Yeah.
That is different.
Well, first of all, let me say that all governments will employ consultants. So let me not make it seem as the impression you're giving is I'm against consultants.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that
I'm against the Packer company again.
The same accusation has been made against previous SLP administrations.
No, you can have consultants. We're talking about the abuse. That's what we're concerned about. But you ask about me, Tim. I think, Tim, I am one of those persons involved in politics now who did not just come in politics estranged and divorced from the community and from involved in development of St. Lucia. I started off as a student leader in my teens, president of the student branch of the National Youth Council. Then I went on to the National Youth Council executive. I spent years in the National Youth Council movement. I knew what it was like to be chastised by a government because you had formed a youth organization to represent the young people of this country. We were banned in the NYC. I grew up in the NYC. I grew up in the communities all over St. Lucia, meeting young people, organizing young people. Myself, Mario, Michelle, there were a squad of us. I mean, I don't want to go into all the names now, but I was part of that. I got trained, I got nurtured in the youth movement, understanding young people, their dreams, their aspirations, and in sports groups as well. And I moved from that team. I went to university, I got trained, I got my experiences. I came back to St. Lucia. I worked in the political sphere as the attaché to the Prime Minister, learning government, learning political leadership, learning political management. I became PS Youth and Sports. I was responsible as the Permanent Secretary for overseeing the construction of the National Stadium, the National Cricket Ground, the National Skills Development Center, the Bell Fund, the PRF, the number of projects I was involved in as part of the team, overseeing those projects. I got school, I got my experiences doing so. And of course, I went on to Cricket World Cup, to West Indies Cricket Board, being an ambassador, working as a business consultant in the United States. So I think I came out of the youth and student movement understanding what it is like to serve at the community level, went to school, got the experiences, got the qualifications, and had the experiences in doing so. So many people enter politics with no involvement in community or in social life or in any youth group or anything of that sort. Totally divorced. A very elitist notion of what leadership is about, a very elitist notion of what serving people is all about. They don't even know what it is to serve people. And this is why you can call people backing dogs and jackasses and all those things. If you've not learned...
And poodles too.
Well, I mean, okay, if you want to throw that in, poodle, of course, you'll have to give the whole statement.
No. We don't want context.
Yeah.
We don't want context.
But you have to have context.
No, but you didn't give context when you made reference to the
you want me to give context?
No, in the interest of time.
Yeah, you don't want me to give context? No. I can give context.
We're just saying backing dogs, poodles too, okay? And we'll move on.
Okay, if you want to say poodles too, whatnot. So, I mean, myself, and there are other comments when you look around the Labour Party, Honorable Alva Baptiste, Honorable Sean, Honorable Ferdinand, Gideon Ferdinand, Jerome Gideon. We all came out of the youth movement, the sports clubs, whatnot. So I believe, I bring to the table that kind of experience, that kind of nurturing. It just so amused me. I swear some of the UW operatives say, oh, Eli don't know how to mix with people. Eli is, this, Eli don't know nothing. Anybody who know me growing up in the student movement, growing up in the youth movement, working at FRC, doing oral history research project, interviewing people all over the country, and they would say, Eli can't mix with people. That's what I learned. That's how I learned, that's where, I got all my experience and my understanding in the communities, in the youth groups. And I hope to bring that to bear. It's one of the reasons why I tell you I support local government and local government elections, because I believe we should really have a preparatory school almost for persons wanting to go on to national service through politics. So yes, I think I can make a difference based on my own training as an individual. I think I have some qualifications and some skills where I can bring something to the table. And I really believe that a Labour Party will have a mammoth task to correct a lot of the ills that have been created by this government, but we have the competence, and certainly when you see our slate of candidates, and if you wish, we can even talk about the potential candidates of the Labour Party. We'll have an exciting slate of candidates, a very good mix of persons, and I think the electorate will be inspired by the persons we present to them.
You're watching Newsmaker Live with my guest, Dr. Ernest Ile. When we come back, we'd love to hear from you with your calls, with your questions, and your comments. This is Newsmaker Live on DBS Television. Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. You are watching Newsmaker Live on DBS Television with my guest, Dr. Ernest Hilaire. First Deputy Political Leader of the Opposition SLP is also the MP for Castries South. Put a telephone number on the screen so that we can take your calls. Good evening to you, Newsmaker Live, you're on the air. Hello.
Hi, good evening, team. How are you?
I'm okay. Good evening to you.
Good evening to Ernest Hilaire.
Hi, good evening, sir.
Team, I couldn't help, and I'd really like to call the program. One of my colleagues are actually on a program, but when you said
who's that? The first deputy chairman or something of the SLP, right? Mr.
Saltibus, yes.
Seriously. Go ahead, sir.
When you said that, back in the day we didn't have the social media and the means of translating all that information, and healthcare was just a mess in the past. I came to Vieux Fort at the age of 10. And I was part and parcel of going to St. Jude's and assisting the sick and feeding them and having the bazaars and stuff like that. And in the absence of social media and a phone, we have eyes. And we saw that the healthcare system was not the best in the world, but it was okay. It was manageable. But Tim, if you come down to Vieux Fort yourself right now, and I've been begging you to do that, and walk through what exists at the present moment, Tim, you will cry. I know you're a great, strong guy, but you will cry if you come down to St. Jude's right now. And if you go to Victoria and Hardy of Castries, you will also cry. Because I did, Tim. There's flies on people because it is not an enclosed area. There's a water problem, there's an electricity problem, but there is a proper building standing there, built by the Americans, adjusted slightly with no major changes that we are abandoning in the name of our king and every other thing. Tim, you have to come down yourself, and I urge you to do it, so you will not say, well, this what exists now and all governments are responsible. No. Mary Isaac herself said that we are in a crisis state. She said it. And if you look back in the tapes, they are aware. Mr. Alan Shastney just in this New York interview said that it's not a priority. So they are aware of it. You understand? So I need you to come down and take a look at it. I don't want to hog the time of Honorable Ernest Hilaire, but come down and see for yourself, and then you can read it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for calling. All right, we continue to take your calls once again for my guest, Dr. Ernest Hilaire. You are watching Newsmaker Live. It's your turn now. Good evening, you're on the air.
Yes, good night.
Hi, good evening to you, ma'am.
I have a question for Dr. Hilaire.
Yeah.
I'm calling from Cicero, and I want to know what have he done for people in Cicero for the past 3 years. He is concerned about the healthcare.
Yeah.
When UWP was in power, that is Brafit, they made a health center for us. And that health center, they spent how many years in power? They have not fixed it. When people have to see doctor, they have to stand up. Most of the time, they have to stand up outside. So if he concerned about people in Cicero so much, what have he done for people in Cicero? I want to know.
Okay.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
No, I'm absolutely happy that somebody called to ask that. And let's start off with simple realities. And madam, I want to take you through this journey with me. The Central Labour Party is in opposition. You asked me what have I done for the last 3 years. One of the first things I did in the House was to raise the issue of the CDP, the Constituency Development Program, and the hope that I would be able to recommend projects for improvement in Cicero and Castries South. The member from Castries South is the Minister of Economic Development, Guy Joseph, made it very clear. The day I can show him how much money Dr. Anthony gave him when he was in opposition, he will give me the same amount. He's on record, and I can play it for you to hear, where he openly said to me, virtually, you will get nothing. Until you can show me how much Kenny Anthony gave me personally, you will not get. So from the start, I'm being told you will get no CDP money to do none of the small projects, the footsteps, the tracks, the pathways. You will get no such money. You're not going to cut me off. I'm going to answer this question in detail.
Yeah, holding on, but anyway.
Yeah.
Quickly.
So that's the case. As a member of the opposition, we do not get any assistance really at all. I will say to you, for example, madam, in 2016, there was about $80,000 during the summer to help with school books and school uniforms. By 2017, it went down to about $20,000. By 2018, it went down to about 10, and this year it went down to 6,000 under this government. Under the Labour Party, the entire byways and roads were maintained and taken care of with people full-time, taking care of the community, cleaning, make sure there is no bushing, there is no drains. This was stopped by this government. And just think about it. The CCC was responsible for the upkeep of the constituency. We have a mayor now who intends to contest the seat. But look at the state of the constituency. Look at the state, the overgrown trees, the bush on the roadside, the drains being blocked, nothing being done by CCC to take care of the constituency. We have a community center that needs repair. It has been closed for 2 years waiting for repair. We've been asking for it to be repaired, nothing been done. Robert Louis started the community center in Bassett Joseph. Started it halfway through. 3.5 years, work cannot be done to complete it. But you know what I have done in Sisera? What instead I have done is what's within my capacity to do. And I have sought to mobilize the community, to have activities in the community, to bring the community together like never before in Sisera. In fact, I want to invite you to come to Sisera next Sunday for our Journée Creole, something which I started 2 years ago. I can continue. You want me
to have a call? Good evening. Thanks for holding on.
Yes, I'm holding on.
Oh, ma'am, you're still there. Okay, go ahead, please.
So, no, you want me, let me continue to explain to her.
Let me allow her to say something, and then she could hang up, and then you could continue. Go ahead, ma'am. You have another comment to make?
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I want to ask a question. Why are you all putting blames on UWP for people's death? When Labour Party was there, people was dying the same way, because that's not the party who has people's lives in their hand. It's God that has people's lives in their hand. Why putting blame on UWP for people's death?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much for calling.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Well, you see, the question she has to focus on is whether or not the government could not have undertaken a course of action that could have avoided persons dying because of the deficiencies.
You have a call. Good evening, Newsmaker Live, you're on the air.
Good evening, team.
Good evening to you, sir.
Hi, good evening.
Yeah, I've listened to this program tonight, and the blame game needs to stop. All I'm saying here now, if you look at the Labour Party has been in power in the last 25 years. A child would have born in 1997 would be about 23, 24 years now. And if our healthcare system is in that mess, Labour spent about 14 and a half years out of 23 years, and it was not done. I keep hearing it. I was involved in the politics. I probably still around. We, as leaders in this country, need to come together and stop doing the blame game, and let's pass the buck where it needs to pass. Let's prioritize. I've said before when I was with the Labour Party, we needed a blueprint for development in this country. They ad hoc. Everybody want to do things to keep them in power before they even start in office. That is what that happens. If we had a blueprint, a 15-year plan, and we come back every 12 years to augment it and say, this is the plan to take the country to the next level. The next party that come in, because it's a national plan, should adopt into it while they are there, improve on it, and continue forward.
So, Caller, can I ask you a question? And,
go ahead, Ernest.
And you're absolutely right, which is why I have a fundamental problem when UWP came into power. They stopped the administrative block in Vieux-Fort. They stopped the square in Soufrière. They stopped the Castries-Grosley Highway that we had the QAT funding for. They stopped the commissioning of the OKEU. I have just given you 4 examples of projects that the United Workers' Party stopped. So you are right. If there are some projects that are of national significance, when a new party comes into power, you don't have to stop it and cast it aside. And that is the point. And I just want to tell you that I agree with you to some extent. We need to have a national development plan that both parties generally agree to. That's the broad strategic direction we have to take our country in. And you're not entirely wrong. But this government showed more than any other government when they came into power to cast aside everything that has been done with the belief that they will do it differently.
I don't want to go into that detail. I can point at that. This is Lynch here. I can point at that. But I don't want to go down this road. Collins Lynch. I don't want to go down this road. I am saying, I've known you long enough. We have had conversation. The time has come because now you're a deputy leader. and I want to hear from you before the show ends. You can be a good leader, I have no doubts with that. But I don't see the merit in Dr. Anthony is still part and parcel of the Labour Party at this stage with the new thrust. If he wants to be consultant to the party with the new thrust, I think for people to take the Labour Party serious, Dr. Anthony needs to bow out now. Because you sound like you have the leadership, you're ready to go for the leader, for the head of Philip JPA. You sound that way. And just bear with me a little.
No,
what I would like
before you go any further, let me disabuse you of any notion that you have. Let me tell you, I believe the Labour
Party. I have no notion. Don't stop me yet. Don't stop me yet. Right. Don't stop me yet. Okay. I'm just saying to you, Dr. Anthony has been leader for 3 terms. The people, he came in, he was a messiah to us. We rallied and set 16-1. Bravo. It went down 5 years later. He lost 3 seats. Bam. Bravo. Then he lost an election. That should not have happened. He came back, he won at a slim majority. He lost again. That is the time where he should now bow out and say, look, guys, I think I have served for 3 terms. I don't need to create history in this thing to want to be the longest serving prime minister. The trend I am seeing there, and I said I was not going to go there, the trend I am seeing there, if you now as first deputy, you have succeeded, your senior man, Alva, I would say, while you say about all the training you have had, Alva has been in government and served as a foreign minister for 2 terms. So I think he has maturity, he has a world cloud where he has gone and meet leaders throughout this world, and he would have been a good figure to be there. But somehow you have emerged. I have no problem with that, you're a good guy. I'm saying now, if that change is happening within the party, why Dr. Anthony is still there and have not bowed after 3.5 years in the politics? Now you're preparing for a next general election. What are the purpose of Dr. Anthony there? If you answer me, then I will.
Right. I mean, just listen to what the caller is saying. Dr. Anthony, when we lost the election in June 2016, immediately we resigned as leader, and he said, look, I'm handing over the party for you all to take it in whatever direction you want to take it. That's what he did. If his constituents do not want him at this point to leave, that's for them to decide and for the party to decide. Dr. Anthony is not in the leadership of the party. Dr. Anthony, my brother, you asked me not to interrupt you a while ago, and I did so. Dr. Anthony is not in the leadership of the party. Dr. Anthony handed over the party in June 2016 when he resigned. But you can't hold it against him and say, look, what we want, and that we want him totally out of the politics. I mean, that's not for you to decide or even for me to decide. It's for Dr. Anthony and for his constituents in Beaufort South to decide. The second thing is, nobody's saying Stephenson King should bow out. Stephenson King has been in politics. Stephenson King has lost an election. He had a contest with Alan Chastney. He lost, and he's still there. But nobody's saying, why doesn't Stephenson King bow out of politics and get out of it and leave it alone? But all of a sudden, Dr. Anthony must bow out of politics and he must get out of politics, although he's not even the leader. Dr. Anthony does not even attend activities into the press conferences and whatnot because he's allowing the leadership the space for them to shape the party after their own image. You have to respect and admire a man who's doing that. And despite all the conspiracy theories, Dr. Anthony is not even involved in the everyday meetings and functioning of the party at that level because he recognizes he needs to create the space for the leadership to shape the party in their own image.
Final comments from you, caller.
Dr. Hille, you will understand also, for him to be in the wings there, not commenting, not saying anything, you are very close to him. My district rep is very close to him. People can be conceiving that as he is the man, I use that word, he was the chess player moving things around at this point, using intelligent guy like you. Stop. So, like you, and we said what to start doing. But for another show, I will talk.
Okay, thanks a lot. We can have conspiracy theories that UFOs landed at Mola Sheikh. So let's move on. If you want to have a conspiracy theory, there can always be one.
Let's continue to take your calls once again for my guest, Dr. Ernest Hille. Good evening, you're on the air. Hello?
Hello?
Hi, good evening to you, caller. You're on the air.
Good evening to your team.
Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening to your comrade.
Hi, good evening.
First one, let me just put a little bit on the last caller. I would like the last caller to first get into the political movement by being a member of the St. Lucia Labour Party like myself, and I will defend Dr. Anthony and the St. Lucia Labour Party, Dr. Hille and the St. Lucia Labour Party, Brother Alva and every other candidate of the St. Lucia Labour Party, because I'm a member of the St. Lucia Labour Party. When we stay from the outside and we want to dictate to the St. Lucia Labour Party what to do, the Labour Party will stick none of it. I think we have got our heads fast ahead, moving ahead to get rid of what Dr. Hille, you said something about yourself, how you got involved into all parts of development. And the very same Prime Minister we have here, if people can remember clearly, when he spoke one time about China, how you get into politics into China or get into leadership into China, he should have a look at his own self. And most of the people in this United Workers' Party, with one exception, Brother King, has gone through the ropes. But I cannot understand when people just jump out from anywhere and want to get into politics without understanding first the social fabric of our country to move forward. And this is what the St. Lucia Labour Party stands for. And Brother Hille, I have complimented you approve of your second deputy of the party, and I'm doing it publicly. And I want to call on Labour Party supporters, as we are there, as you are there, to come shoulder our party, come around our party, get more involved from now. As I always say, 2 years down the line, it is campaign time. Let us move ahead and get rid of the United Workers' Party. I will not talk about the problems. You have talked about it, and we have been speaking about it. But I'm asking solutions to get ready to get out of the mess that we are in. Have a blessed night, team. Have a blessed night. Dr. Hille.
Yeah. Thank you so much for calling, sir.
You know what's most amazing, Tim? Why are United Workers' Party supporters and operatives advising us how we should handle our business? They're supposed to be happy if we have dissent. They're supposed to be happy if Dr. Anthony is a liability. Why are they giving us advice for us to be better off? You expect me to take the advice of the United Workers' Party operatives and activists as to how we should structure our party? Really, Tim?
We have a final call. Good evening.
Would you do that? Accept that?
Good evening. Newsmakerlive, you're there.
Good evening, Tim.
Hi, good
Good evening to your guest. I finally made it through.
Oh, that's Mr. Norbert Williams.
It certainly is, Tim.
Right.
I noticed the telltale knowing smile from your guest as well. Tim, I am bewildered tonight. I am amazed. I am in awe at the statements that Dr. Ernest Hille has made as far as healthcare is concerned. And he seems to be pushing tonight a particular description of the healthcare system in St. Lucia as almost something unique, that it's in crisis. And you've asked Dr. Hille a number of questions, and he seemed to be surprised or uninformed about what you said. And Tim, I would like to refresh Dr. Hille's memory a little bit and maybe recollect for your listeners, your viewers out there, that the healthcare system in St. Lucia has been described to be in crisis for many years, long before Dr. Ernest Hille got into elective politics. In fact, if I remember correctly, from the time of Romanus Lancico, when he had that walk to raise $1 million for healthcare for Victoria Hospital in St. Lucia, we've heard about the horror stories all through the years, Tim. It's not anything unique to this administration since 2016, and it's been going back quite a long time. But it seems clear that Dr. Ernest Hille is trying to tie the healthcare system's problems around this current administration's neck. Now, he made a statement that the visit to St. Lucia recently, a week and a half ago, of the U.S. hospital ship Comfort, and the number of people who went out there to get free medical care, I think somewhere in the number of 4,500 people in the week that it was there, as an indication that our system is in crisis. And I'm putting it to Dr. Hille and to every St. Lucian out there, that if that ship had come to St. Lucia in 2015 or 2014 or 2013 or any other time, I am putting it to you that just as many people would have gone there for health care. We saw him, and I don't really want to belabor the point, but it is so stark, the statements that Dr. Healy has made, as if this healthcare problem we have is something that just suddenly appeared.
Okay, can I ask you a question? Can I just ask you one simple question?
But hold on one second, if you don't mind.
No, before you move on, before you move on,
Okay.
I just want you to tell me whether you believe that if the government in 2016 to 2017 had not proceeded with the commissioning plan and the work of Dr. Stephen King, he had not been dismissed, we would not be better off. Please, let me just finish.
Dr. King was not dismissed.
Okay, he was no longer, he was taken away from the job that he had, if he's not dismissed, yeah? So, if they had continued with the commissioning plan and Dr. King had continued his work, don't you think we'd be better off in our healthcare? But let me finish the question.
Allow him to finish, I'm calling.
Don't you think we'd be better off than where we are now?
But I cannot say that, and you're asking me to answer a question for which you have provided no details on your premise. You're saying
but then you told me if the ship had come in 2 years ago, the same number of people would go to the ship with no basis for your premise either. But a simple thing, if we had implemented the commissioning plan and Dr. Stephen King had continued the work to operationalize the OKEU, would we not be even a slightly bit better off than we are now?
But you see, you have not furnished the people, the viewers of the show tonight with what that commissioning plan was.
Well, I have it on my phone. I can read it. I can start going for it now.
And also the reasons. Well, I know we don't have much time. And also the reasons why things were changed. There are logical reasons why they were changed. Number one, there was every opportunity, and the St. Lucia Labour Party campaigned vigorously, and the United Workers' Party was voted out of office in 2011. It was your campaign promise to deliver on St. Jude's particularly.
But brother, you're not answering the question I asked you. Would we not have been better off than where we are now?
I did respond to that.
And you're saying you cannot say.
You did not.
All right, let's move on then. If you cannot say St. Lucia health sector would be better off if we had implemented the commission, the same plan you implementing now.
If St. Jude's had been built in 2012. If it had been built in 2013, if it had been built in 2014, the fact remains that you have not alluded to the facts that have been presented as to the reasons why St. Jude's Hospital was not in a state competent enough. After all the monies had been spent, $135 million.
But you know that's not true. But can I tell you, why don't you make the technical...
Let me allow him to wind down, and then...
But maybe he can make the technical... Why hasn't the technical report been made public and the financial report? So people can actually see in an official document, table in Parliament, what you all keep saying in Parliament. Things have been said from a document that's been waived. Make it public.
Dr. Ernest Ile.
Yes, sir.
You did also raise the point that the government has an agreement to turn the old St. Jude's Hospital, which was under construction, into a university hospital or something of the sort.
Yeah.
I am not aware of that, and if you have the information...
But the Prime Minister said so.
Also,
the Prime Minister said so.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Also, during the previous SLP administration, it was stated by Dr. Kenny Anthony and others that the town of Vieux-Fort would be turned into, what was it?
Yeah.
A medical town and whatever.
Yeah.
Did they consult anyone on that?
No, but that's... Hold on. Let's not mix apples and oranges. Are you denying that the Prime Minister has stated that St. Jude Hospital will house a medical school?
No. You said there was an agreement. That is what I referred to.
But bro, listen that.
Because
if you see...
We have to be very clear. We have to be very clear that there have been reasons why there was a stoppage of the works at St. Jude's Hospital. Those have been made very clear. And it was deemed that because of the critical situation with St. Jude's, working with the current situation at the old premises would have cost a monumental amount of money and would not be cost effective.
But that has been debunked by technical people. That has been debunked.
Okay, time out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for calling, sir.
I will respond to Dr.
All right, thank you so much. Final comments from you.
Well, I wanted an opportunity to talk about the horse race in December, the air-conditioned stables and the purchase of horses. I don't know if you know anything about it. There is a lot of talk that St. Lucia has purchased a large number of horses to be able to have the race in December. I don't know whether...
I heard you making reference to this.
Yes, but you've not done any research and found out anything about it. I wanted to talk about the use of NIC funds. I wanted to talk about DSH and about range and a lot of things, Tim, we never got a chance to talk about. Maybe you should invite me again so we can talk about... We spent a lot of time on healthcare. We haven't even spoken about education and this sports academy. You know, it's so... Tim, the fundamental issue with this government is that they have mismanaged just about everything they have sought to address in this country. And I can literally sit with you and go sector by sector and show you the gross mismanagement. What is even more frightening, Tim, is that the Prime Minister, as the official spokesman of this government, says one thing today and he denies tomorrow that he ever said it. And I mean, just a simple thing like DSH is not a CIP approved project. You know, a simple thing as that. And it really makes you worried about what do you trust as the official statement from this government. And we find ourselves, whether you look at the situation of the roads in St. Lucia, education in St. Lucia, healthcare in St. Lucia, investment in St. Lucia, social services in St. Lucia, there is gross mismanagement of the public sector. In this country are benefiting. And that is even more frightening because people have lost confidence more than ever in the governance of this country. We were promised that crime would be solved. Kenny cannot do it, but I will do it. What has happened since then? We were told that impacts will go away, it will be dealt with. What has happened since then? Tim, in 3.5 years, tell me one hotel project that has started in St. Lucia. We were promised numerous hotels. Just tell me one that has started in St. Lucia. Just tell me. Give me the comfort that something has started. Now, a few things may start in the next few months because elections is finally approaching. But Tim, I think our St. Lucian people have been traumatized by the performance of this government. Traumatized. We have a leader and we have a cabinet of ministers that we have lost confidence in. I mean, the Pajua letter, you didn't even get a chance. I alluded to it and you asked me about evidence, whatnot. I was going to show you the evidence, Tim. And there are more letters that will come out, Tim. That's the state of our country. So as the Labour Party starts preparing, selecting its candidates, formulating its policy, Tim, we will want to be offering to St. Lucians another opportunity for them to try to give us to right the wrongs that have gone in this country. We're not saying that governments have not made mistakes in the past, that the Labour Party may not have disappointed in the past, but the level of disenchantment that we have now, Tim, that is unparalleled in our history. Unparalleled in our history. I grew up as a young man being very critical of United Workers' Party's social policy in particular, but I don't know we've ever gone through what we're going through now. And like I said, what is most frightening is that a very small group of persons seem to be the only people benefiting, Tim. And I know as somebody who's on the ground, you too must be very worried as to where this country is heading.
Thank you so much for being my guest on this evening's Newsmaker Live. And to you as always, thank you so much for watching the broadcast and contributing via your calls. If it's Wednesday, it's Newsmaker Live. Time now for the clip that peaked.
Maji hapa. Weka soda hapa. Weka maji hapa. Na uchunge na uchunge. Kuna nyama? Iko kitu kingine? Nitakupa. Na kuna mtoto, simwekea mtoto hii sahani. Kwa sababu tulilala njaa, tuone mahali tunaweza tukamwekea. Nipatie soda nyingine ya mtoto. Soda ya mtoto? Kuna kitu kingine naweza nikanini? Nipatie, kuna msichana mwingine hapa nyumbani. Kuna mtoto mwingine niliacha nyumbani. Hii iko sawa. Asante sana
Well, Once again, thank you so much for watching the broadcast. It's a very good evening. Please join me tomorrow afternoon between 12:30 and 2 o'clock on Real FM 91.3 North and 91.5 South for Newspin. Good night and see you next time.